Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new show.
Xavier used to be my boyfriend, then my fiance, and then my husband, so he's my ex-boyfriend.
We decided that we needed to spice this up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Living with Your Ex, and of course, I'm on live with my ex-girlfriend, who is now my wife.
Why are you saying that so like with a dub? Like say that with excitement.
Yeah, I'm on with my wife. Woohoo! Hello, Anka. What's happening on your side?
Hey, everybody. We are back with an exciting topic. I think today we are a little bit more prepared because we had some research work done. I made you sit and watch our topic today, didn't I?
You made me sit and watch.
But to be fair, I did also let you know like some of the detail, and I actually told it in so much detail. Like you should be proud of me, because usually you just need the gist of the things, and I actually told you detail. Oi, we are here. We are here.
Oh, you know what? Like the thing is showing old thingy there by the live. Anyways, yeah, we are here. Philip is here. So yeah, here's the story, right? So there's this lady that's been going viral on TikTok for the past couple of weeks now. Or how long is now? About a week or two.
Since just after February 14th. So I think it's so from February 12th, there around, she started going viral because she came out with a story about her ex-husband. So you want to give the gist, or must I give the gist?
Yeah, so here's basically the story, right? So this woman, she has an ex-husband that she was living with. She got married to during COVID. She didn't tell her people she's gonna get married. She didn't give them the heads up of what's actually going on and what's...
Shame, give a better synopsis of the story.
Okay, go for it.
So to start off the story was she met this man, and 2 weeks from meeting this man, they decided, that it was locked down in the States and whatnot, so they decided, okay, they're going to move into her space. Now, she's only known this man for about 2 to 3 weeks when she decided to move into him. So I think there was about a month when he actually moved into her house. And then she fell pregnant, lost the baby, and they got married. But in between all of that, this man promised her multiple houses. They went looking for houses. He's promised her multiple cars. They went looking for cars, test drove the cars. He said he had money and offshore bank accounts, never produced the proof, and every time there was just something, he introduced her to multiple family members for her to find out that they're not even family. He said he had different types of family members and he was pretending to speak to these family members like every single day. Turns out he hasn't been speaking to them since 2015. So there was a lot of things that went on in this, and she married this guy. Do you want to continue now?
No, you're still doing good.
I'm actually proud of myself. Like, I'm actually giving detail. Anyway, she got married to this guy, and then she started slowly finding out something is sus about this guy, and it happened with his social security number. Then she started going down this rabbit hole of like doing a background check on him, his social security number. He said he was married, doing a background check on his divorce papers that were filed and everything. And then she came to the truth of things, and she realized that the guy she married is not the guy who said he is. And the family members she apparently met is not family members at all. And she went down this rabbit hole, and she ended up divorcing this guy. She got married and divorced within a span of 6 months.
So basically the whole setup, but before we get into the whole story, thank you so much for everyone who jumped online. Thank you so much. Please do drop your comments in the comment section if you have been following this story all the time. Tell us what you're thinking about the story, how you're feeling about the story, because I saw that a lot of people are responding very, very not positively, but people are responding to the story, is the point I'm making, is that so many people are jumping onto the story, so many people are really just feeling the whole vibe about this story. And the truth of the matter is that Risi Tisi...
Stop saying that. It's Risa Tisa.
Risa Tisa?
Yes.
Risa Tisa. The story has intrigued a bunch of people, right? A lot of people got very interested in the whole story. A lot of people got very caught up with the synopsis and the scenario of the story. And some people said that they felt connected to the story. Some people said that it also happened to them. And some people were just there for the comments. And some people were just there for the engagement and the interaction that the whole story is about. And for me, overall, you were watching the story, and I think, again, I think the way men and women approach things are different, right? Because a lot of women were very intrigued by the story.
And men.
Yeah, there were some men, but I'm saying majority of the women were intrigued by the story because, again, women, and this is to the point of the actual story, right? Women are intrigued by things that they hear, things that they are promised, hopes and dreams that they are given. Hence the story. Hence is also why she kind of stuck around, because she was hoping that this guy was going to do what he said he was going to do.
You're speaking to the actual nature of a woman.
Yes, overall.
Okay.
Overall.
Yeah.
And that's also why women are so drawn to stories like this. And that's why a lot of women like watching Crime Channel and all that, because they like the story and the intrigue. That's why 50 Shades of Grey was such a big book, because women like to read the stories. Women like to hear the stories and read all the things. Those are the things that get women, switched on and excited. And men are obviously more visual. Men want to see things. Men want to watch the action hooters, and men like cars and all that. Those are just obviously broad. What do you call this? What do you call it when you make like broad, not assumptions, like the what's the thing that says, not stereotype, man. The exceptions don't debunk the rule. Those are obviously just overall how people are, the majority of.
The general rule for a woman, yes. And just to jump in there, that yes, women and men are completely different. So this notion of we are the same, equal is not true, which is why, and I said this to you this morning, that any woman can fall into this trap. And the reason for that is that women by nature want to be taken care of. Doesn't matter how alpha we are, doesn't matter by nature we want to be taken care of. And I remember this is a woman, if you follow the story, you will know that she lived on her own. She had a house, she's been working, she's been taking care of herself and taking care of her own bills. And she mentions a couple of times that, it was so refreshing that this guy moved in and, he was taking care of the bills, which was also something refreshing about the story is the fact that he didn't leave her in a lurch, like, the Tinder swindler story kind of vibe. But a lot of women can fall into this trap, because what he came in and he did was he came in with that knight in shining armor kind of vibe. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to take care of you. And that is what we as women innately want, regardless of who we are. We want to be taken care of. I mean, there's the whole advent of slay queens and all of that, because, women want to be taken care of. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that is our nature. That is what we're born with. And men are innately born with the instinct to want to provide. Whether they are able to provide all the time is what is in question. And which is why I think this guy fell into this fantasy world to create this world. He wasn't able to provide the BMW with the cognac interior. He wasn't able to provide this dream 5-bedroom house for them. He wasn't able, but what he was trying to do is give her the illusion that he can provide.
So here's the question, right? And so Anka basically just rounded up the whole story that, in a nutshell, she married a psychopathic liar, right? Or what do you call it? A pathological liar. The guy was just lying about things that was really unnecessary to lie about.
Like really unnecessary.
Like random things, and it just really wasn't. He didn't have to lie, but he lied, right? Okay, cool. So she didn't know, and she's kind of following along. And what starts irritating her is the fact that homie keeps on promising things and then coming short on his promises.
Something just comes up all the time.
Homie keeps on saying, yo, I'm going to buy you this car, and then something comes up. Homie keeps on saying, I'm going to buy you this house, then something comes up. But the thing that caught her is, in the beginning, he was paying the bills. In the beginning, he was covering for things. Yeah, so obviously that makes you believe that, okay, if he's paying for those things, then clearly there is money. So it kind of hooks you in. And she kept saying in the story the whole time that that's what kept her thinking that, okay, he is paying, so okay, there is money. And he was showing her bank slips and statements and things, which was now her brain is fighting. It's like, wait, man, he keeps on coming up with excuses, but at the same time he's showing me things that showing me that there is money and he is paying for certain things. So now I'm confused, because for someone that says they have money and not pay, then it will be like, nah, there's something suspicious here. But he is paying and he is coming to the party, which means there is kind of something here, and that's what caused her to kind of be
Yeah.
between two worlds.
So he really didn't need to lie from the start. So if we have to look at, she was explaining from the first date. If this man just came in and just had a conversation with her and I mean, she had a flat tire. He paid for the tire. They went on the date. She didn't ask him for a house on the first date. She didn't ask him for a car on the first date. In fact, she didn't ask him for any of those things at any point in time. He initiated all those conversations, which clearly states to me she wasn't in it for the money. Because he'd already been living with her when he said, okay, we're going to go look for a car or we're going to go look for a house. He'd already been living with her. So it becomes a matter of, she would have been okay with him if he told her, I have a mediocre job doing forklift work at work.
Yeah, and they would have been alright. It wasn't necessary to lie the way he lied.
Because at no point did she say, oh, he painted this beautiful picture from the start and I bought into that. They just had a conversation about family that he lied about, that he didn't, because she doesn't know this guy from a bar of soap.
So he didn't even have to lie about it.
He didn't need to buy.
So here's my question. What exactly is it about this guy? Why did he feel the need to have to lie and to have to really stretch the...
I'm no qualified professional in the medical sphere or whatever, but it's pretty evident that the guy did. And she came out and made a video that the brother did say that they did take him to a psychologist and he was diagnosed with elements of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And the crux of the matter is, at the end of the day, he had a twin brother, and he basically assumed the life of his twin brother, because his twin brother was the VP of a company, or is the VP of a company, and has a 5-bedroom home. So I think he tried to create this life, and it makes me question what happened in his childhood. Was there some sort of element of comparison? Because I've heard before that when there are twins, and there's kind of like a sort of comparison if the one is doing better than the other one.
So he was the swag twin trying to live up to this standard.
He was trying to live up to a standard. I don't know what the situation might have been, but whatever it may have been, the situation is where it is now, and multiple women had to go through this man. But for me, clearly there are some psychological issues that this man is dealing with, and clearly is going untreated or whatever. But also in the sphere that we live in, we also know that there's a big spiritual aspect to that. It's not just you get up one morning and now you have mental issues. I know that that's a buzzword, but at the same time, there's a spiritual aspect, because I'm sure if we prayed the demons out of him, he would be a normal, sane person.
When you told me the story, I'm like, that sounds like, because the Bible says that the devil is the father of all lies, right? Satan is the father of all lies. So if you have to feel the need just to lie for no reason, then your father is in fact, the Bible says, if you do things that comes from the devil, then you belong to your father, the devil. That's literally what the scripture says. So he was lying for no reason. But I found myself, and I don't know if it's also if the woman felt the same way, or was it just anger or rage or whatever. Because sometimes in these situations, right, where you find the serial killer or whatever, then you find there's women that are attracted to the guy that goes to prison, and then he's still getting love letters and things from women. I'm questioning,
is it the demon inside of this one?
No. I'm not even talking about the spiritual side of things. I'm just talking about sometimes, I don't know if you've seen, you find Jeffrey Dahmer in jail there, and he's still getting love letters from women that are attracted to him. Ted Bundy was getting love letters. Yes. It's like, are you okay in your brain too? But here's the thing, right? There's certain times in the story that she's telling where I'm kind of feeling like bad for her. Like the part where she's saying that Homie was trying to find a place to sleep. When she came to his car, she had to meet him in the parking lot or something. When she came to his car and he opened the boot, she realized, Homie's been sleeping in his boot. Homie's stinking. He's lost weight. All this. But the parts where you kind of, like, as psychopathic as the guy is, and of course we know there's something not okay with this. But were there parts, and so come and mention some of the parts where I was like, a shame, the armor, is where she said she had to go meet him somewhere to give him something or whatever.
Divorce papers.
Yeah, and then she found out, then she could see the was sleeping in his car. Then the other place where she found out that.
And she felt sorry for him because she gave him money.
I was just about to say that. This is the question that I'm getting to, where she saw that he was sleeping in the hospital bed. He checked himself in because he didn't know where to sleep. The part where he comes and parks in the car park, where he lost so much weight and he was stinking and all that. Is there an element where, as much as the O is psychopathic, there's still a part of you like, I shame die arme siel. Kom ek help maar die ou of kom ek gee hom 'n plate or something. Because surely your humanity and the fact that you were married with the O, you had intimate moments with the O, all that, some part of you must still kind of feel bad for the guy, like, shit.
That's why a lot of women end up back in that situation, because that is also sometimes used as a method of manipulation. And here's the thing, he did garner support when she was telling that. Then if you went through the comments, he did garner some support, like, I shame, like, why are you being so harsh towards him, because clearly he's not in the right mental state. And this is something that is very important, especially when it comes to marriage, and this is applicable for both sides. Regardless of what your mental state is, regardless of where you are emotionally, it doesn't give you the right to exercise certain things at the expense of someone else. There are consequences to your actions, because that is just plain down selfish. I do understand maybe he has psychological issues, but that can't be at her expense. You need to take ownership for where you are and be self-aware. And I mean, the man checked in, because clearly there are mental hospitals that you can just check yourself into. So, my guy, you have a problem. He knew well enough where the place was when he needed a bed to sleep. So,
but people like that don't think there's something wrong with him. So you find that he just did that because he needed a place to stay.
Maybe so, but what I'm gathering, and this is, she came back on to make another video, I think a day ago or something like that. She came back and then she came to say that she had contact with the brother, and the brother did say that as a family, they did seek help for him. They did. So he just plain down doesn't want the help. So it becomes, and dude is okay, because a lot of things transpired from there. He lost his car because she had it repossessed in her driveway, because she.
But
just
given that he hasn't been paying, he wasn't paying for months.
She knew that, but the car was in a driveway. She couldn't move it. She needed to get out her car. So there's a lot of elements to that. And everything he possessed, his last possessions, was in that car. But what I'm saying is that, where was I going with this? He needs to take responsibility for his actions. Like, you knew what got him there. So there's only so much that you as a person, and a lot of other women had to deal with him. So if someone doesn't come out and say something, how many victims are there? How many more victims? So Homie is okay, because Homie bounced back. He lost his car, he lost everything else. But he bounced back because he's out here on TikTok as a relationship coach, and he seems to be doing fine because he's in a home.
Did you see the comments?
Yeah, Nikita, Phoebe says that, hi Phoebe, she says that the story had people in a chokehold, and then Nikita says the golden rule is stay away from psychopaths. It's not worth it. How do we identify a psychopath? Because remember, these people are very cunning. And when it comes to marriage, and this is the part where I really want us to spend a bit of time on, and we've dealt with red flags, and I think we're going to dabble a little bit more into red flags, but guys, get to know the person. And I know in American culture, whatever, people become very independent. They meet someone, then later on the family gets to meet. In our culture, you will meet the family. You will meet Oma and Opa. You will meet.
Do you think what happened to those women would have happened in a culture like ours?
I think the elements could have, it could have happened, because I think it does happen to women where they are being lied to. But I think the extent
No, I'm saying the whole point where the family doesn't even know the person. I don't know, but to me, there's just, from my world, and maybe I came from a sheltered world or a very conservative background, where something like this would have never in a bazillion years, it could not have happened. Number one, you're not supposed to be sleeping around if you're not married. Number two, the first thing their parents should have done is come and see my parents. Number three, my parents would have wanted to know. Number four, if we had a wedding, it would have been a proper full-out wedding where there's bridesmaids and groomsmen and the whole tutti, the whole 9 yards. So already, those are 4 buffers that already would have stopped it, unless he came with a whole fake family, unless he went to go and pay for someone to come and be his parents in inverted commas.
And that's happened before.
Unless then Nurse Homie just went to a complete extreme to vermoes this woman. But
In terms of America, I think the demographics and the cultures are different because a lot happens in the States. Like you can hire a best man or whatever. You can hire these type of people in the States because people render their services. But I mean, I was telling you this morning that you could have done that to me. You could have done that to me because
but then that means I would have had to come there with a fake father and a fake
you
mother.
could have come there with your parents. You could have come there and you could have sold me the dream. You could have sold me the dream, said, Uncle Andy, I'll take care of your daughter. We didn't know you from a bar of soap. So and remember, we happened just as quick as this had happened. We happened just as quick. We were engaged within 4 weeks of meeting each other.
But for me, there's some telltale signs where you can see when you because surely if you like my life on social media was very
man's had pictures.
No. My life was like bruh, I always say this even like when you speak and we speak about like people we've been with before or whatever. I'm like, my ex doesn't have to wonder what I'm doing. Literally, there's a daily vlog. There's podcast.
Even our lives are exposed.
That's what I'm saying. My life is so out there that how are you gonna dodge?
Prior, it wasn't. It wasn't like that. When we met, it was the beginning, kind of like the beginning stages of Facebook. So you still had that where the page was loading and all of that. Because a lot of times when we speak, you tell me, oh, you must have seen the stuff on Facebook. You must have seen. I didn't know you were in a relationship. I didn't know the extent of factory because even till this day, if it takes too long to load, then I shut everything down. I'm still like that. So I didn't do research. I'm not the researching type. So if you came to me and said, the basic reference for you guys was our pastor because our pastor knew that, right? That was the reference. So you could have come in and sold me the moon and the stars. Because remember, this is the first time I'm here. I do see what's going on. But what if you didn't really have a house? What if you were renting? Or what if we were just in the house for a period of time?
But okay, here's the question. How long would it have taken you? Like, let's put us in the situation. I fetched you out of Namibia, you come, boom. Here you see, I do have a house, I do have a car, right? To crown it all, my name is on the number plate. So I don't know if I rented it and then paid extra to put my name on the number plate. Maybe if I was really going to go to that extent to really have your registration name on your actual number plate. So you come here, you see, okay, the Omi has a house, he has a car, his name is on the plate. Okay? How long would I have been able to ride that wave before someone would have been able to say, something's off here? You go to my parents' house, you see the baby pictures of when we were kids. You can see that is me. You can see that is my mother, that is my father. No. So I'm just saying, how far would you have to move someone? And there are people out here that have done it, where they Photoshop things, they Photoshop themselves into things. But that's very psychopathic, and that you see a lot on movies, bruh. So I don't know if there's like a different spirit that happens there in America, but yo, bruh, it's like things that we watch in movies or hear about. It's like it's completely foreign to us.
So I used to be friends with a pathological liar, right? We were friends up until I think grade 9 or grade 10, because then he dropped out of school. Well, he was expelled from school. But we were close friends. But he was a pathological liar. This man didn't have or kid back in the day didn't have a reason to lie. But he will come there with some strange story of how he got a car or whatever, and you're like, like a whimsical story, and he legit believes. It was to the point where I told him one day, my guy, you have no reason to lie. We're standing in front of this wall. The wall is blue, and you telling me the wall is pink and trying to convince me the wall is pink.
But what happens to someone like that? Is it like a psychological issue?
It is a psychological issue. And knowing his background, given the fact that later on in life I heard that he ended up doing fairly well for himself, but he went on drugs, he spiraled out of control, and now he's doing fairly well for himself. Like he had a bounce back. But he ended up being in many relationships. Like the girls liked him. Because there's an element where us as women, we like confidence. So if you're coming in here and
Even if you're talking nonsense.
if I don't know you from a bar of soap, I don't think you're talking nonsense. I'm just thinking you're the most quiet. I'm not thinking you're talking nonsense until I knew him as a friend, and I wouldn't have touched him with the stick, even because, in the romantic sense, because I knew who he was. I knew what he's because we'd known each other for maybe 3 or 4 years. And my brother had contact with him the other day and said, no, he's doing fairly well with himself and for himself and all of that. But dude was a pathological liar back in the day. Like, he used to get into trouble. And the reason for that was that he had a strange relationship with his father. He didn't have a very good relationship. And he really wanted the validation of his father, where he didn't get it. His mother tried to cover up everything for him. Hi Seamus, my son. Hi Seamus, no, he would never do that. She bailed him out of everything. So, and that for me, it stems from seeking attention, wanting to build a life, wanting to build this idea that you have in your head and want other people project that onto other people. But it slowly starts unraveling after a time. And now you have to move on to the next one to sort of keep on perpetuating that image that you have of yourself. But it has to do with childhood trauma. So I'm asking what happened in this man's life prior. But now you coming in an adult stage, you don't know this man from a bar of soap, and you marrying this man, you marrying his issues. So I have a question for you, seeing that, we are here, and this is just really off the bat, like at the whim of the situation. In Christianity, we believe that when you get married to this person, it's a covenant between you and God and your husband. It's a covenant. You can't exit that covenant. Given that you didn't know that this man is up to this lying and whatnot, and even if you listen to Risa Tisa, she was like, she didn't know how to get out of this, because in her mind she was raised that you can't get divorced because God frowns upon that. And when she found out that he cheated, she's like, oh, dankie toch, now I have a get out of jail free card because God don't frown upon that. When this happens to you, and say there's no cheating involved, there's just a whole lot of lying involved, can I leave? From a Christian standpoint.
I think obviously she was also trying to, like she kept saying, she was being the FBI and the CIA and everything. She was like trying to fish behind the scenes what this guy's been up to and what he's been catching on, and phoning people behind his back. And there's even one part where she's like, homie's sitting and watching TV. He doesn't know. I know his whole life. He doesn't know I read all the obituaries. He doesn't know I spoke to his ex-wife. He doesn't know I spoke to his real family. He thinks I'm none the wiser. In the meantime, I'm sitting there with all this information. What should have then or would happen in that case is then you'd have to confront him and say, hey, bro, listen, you're lying about all this.
But she did confront him, and evidently he did not stop lying. And that's the thing about a pathological liar. And the thing that comes out, and remember, this is now a trend because she came out with, a lot of other women came out with their stories, right? And they have kind of like a resounding, like resonating, like element there, which is, homie has an answer off the bat. Like, when you confront him, he can justify it real quick, not knowing that you know the actual fact about the story.
Because the thing is, it's tricky because he didn't become physically abusive with her. She didn't like say he started hitting me or I was scared of my life or whatever. It was mostly just the lying. And then when she was reading his inboxes, so I think it's going to boil down to, if you can lie like that, you're going to end up cheating or you're going to end up doing something because you're already off your rocker. So I think the one sin is going to come with its friends. So to answer the question is that eventually, my answer would be eventually the lying would become cheating, the cheating will become violence, the violence will become whatever it ends up becoming, because that's how sin works. It creeps in and then it overtakes your life. So if you allow one thing, the other things, it comes with all its friends. So, and that's what the Bible also says. It says if you clean the house, you better replace it with Jesus, because if you clean it and there's no one there, the demon will come back with 7 other demons. And so he would have cheated at some point, or he would have gotten violent at some point, or whatever his weakness is would have escalated into something else. So to answer the question, lying in and of itself, by itself, would be difficult to argue, to just leave the guy for that. given that it's a very good reason, especially if, but the cheating is a better reason to leave.
A better reason. You know,
Given that they're both bad.
look, you can't, I don't think the cheating is a better reason. I just think because sin is sin and kla. You know, for me, given that you can now not even trust this man with your life. Because now I've watched a lot of Crime Channel. I think those people who know me knows. And it usually people who lie like this end up killing their spouse. And they lie.
And people like
to
this
get out
end
of
up burying someone in a yard or something.
Yeah. So I mean,
they end up doing
so
stupid things like
you
that.
can't
bro.
trust a person with your life. I would say I would then leave. Publicly, you are then doomed to not get into a different relationship. You just publicly on the biblical standards, because you are basically, even an adultery, if there's adultery committed, even if you aren't the one that perpetrated, you now have to live a celibate life for the rest of your life.
No, you can. You
No,
can
it
get
says
with someone else.
No, it says only a widow, a young widow.
So here's my next question that I want to ask, right? So now everyone, after the story blows up and it becomes a big thing and everyone's talking about it, and because I don't know if she anticipated that it would turn into what it turned into, to the point where people are like, yo, we got to do a Netflix deal about this. When she was doing her TikTok lives, first question, do you think she anticipated that it would blow up the way it did?
I think there is an element, because in today's life, especially on TikTok, things do have an element of going viral very quickly. Given that people like indabas, and I know that other people had jumped onto the trend.
No, I'm going to get to that point.
Not in the sense of doing the same thing, but other people jumped onto the trend to identify the trend.
No, that's the point that I'm talking about. I want to get to that point next, as to all the others that all of a sudden also just popped up, and there's a question behind that.
So basically what I'm saying is that other people started making TikToks and actual YouTube videos where they sort of dissect her video to say that this is the new trend, because there was a whole space where there was social media influencers. And then there was first reality stars, hence your Kardashians, Paris Hilton, them. I think, who was it? Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie that started out, in the Kardashians came along, and then there was the influencers, which was now on social media, Instagram influencers. And this is the new age of influencing now. Just no makeup, no nothing, just telling your story just like it is, in its authentic self. So
Yeah, but people obviously want authenticity.
That's what created the trend.
But I'm saying, do you think she anticipated for it to blow up the way it did?
No, I mean, girl has got her BMW X5 with the cognac interior. BMW is going to gift it to her. And she's getting a trip to London and wherever else she wanted to go. I think it was Dubai, if I'm not mistaken.
She's not giving me the vibe that she did it
to
for
get
that.
there. No, she don't. She didn't, because purely when I started watching it, I think the authenticity was she did in a whole interlude to say she's not mentioning names. Hence the lesion, hence lesion was birth, and hence that was birth, because of all his personalities that came out. I guess that is the name she chose for him. But she never mentioned anyone. The only name she ever mentioned was the fictitious characters that he created. And then she did give a shout out to the actual real estate agent. She then gave a shout out to that lady who basically, so she's not being selfish about it. She could have just,
But here's my thing, and which brings us to the next portion of this whole thing, right? The time we're living in, people are really chasing this clout thing, right? And for me, her story came across as very authentic, unless she fugazed me as well, but it came...
Unless she's the pathological liar.
No, but it came across as very authentic.
Yes.
She didn't try to out anyone. She didn't try to... And even her story, she was literally just telling the story. She wasn't trying to add spice to it. She wasn't trying to make it worse than it was. She didn't come and say, he beat me up. She didn't add anything that didn't really happen. She was very, very authentic about it, saying that, look, here's the story. This is what happened to me. You can believe me, you cannot believe me. It's entirely up to you, but I'm just telling what happened to me, right? And my challenge with that is, when it did turn out to be a big thing, right? And when it did blow up and became as successful or popular as it became, then you now find that the ex-wife, and I don't know if this is the wife that she was talking about in the story where she said she spoke to someone and said,
it's not her.
okay, so
The
there
very
was
first wife.
one that came out and said, don't involve me, leave me alone.
That's the second
I'm not
wife.
interested.
Yeah.
Don't even include me into your stories. Don't anything. I'm not interested. If you want me to help you on a personal, private level, we can have that conversation. But as far as wanting clout out here in these streets, there's you. But when I saw the other wife come out on some, yeah, I'm the wife they're talking about. It's me. It was just giving cloud chasing vibes. It's
Okay, whoa,
giving
whoa.
cloud chasing
hold
vibes.
up.
That's what it was giving to me.
Okay, hold up. Let's backtrack. But I don't want to spend too much time on that, baby. I want us to spend the elements of the marriage elements, and what do you do when you find yourself in a situation like that. But just to
kind of run through.
yeah,
like,
just to backtrack on that. Remember, this woman has a podcast of her own. She actually has, I think, a radio channel or something of her own, and she was going to go live, and Mans jumped on there as well. And she's like, no, he's not going to use my platform to,
can't tell his side of the
yeah,
story.
but Mans jumped on there as well, and then she jumped onto TikTok, which is, from a business perspective, I don't think it's such a bad idea, because now she's getting her word out that, look, I also have this. If she genuinely didn't want to be found, she would have just kept quiet, because no one knew who she was. Her son came out, who also jumped onto the clout bandwagon, and saying, yeah, I know. Look, if you're coming out to say, okay, I'm just here to authenticate the story. I know she's telling the truth.
But she didn't have to come on because she wasn't outed.
No, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the son. Because what happened was someone outed his identity. And then he came out and said, yeah, she's lying. You cheated with I don't know who. And he's doing it very candidly. And he's kind of like playing into the narrative that you already told people. This is what he said about his ex-wife. Case in point, here I am. And he just came and just repeated that. Hi, Shame, he should have actually listened to her stuff properly so that he could actually have a better retaliation of it. But anyway, and then her son, then people came out to say, there was another woman that came out to say, look, I had the exact same experience. I didn't marry the dude, but I also, had an experience with this guy. I'm just here to authenticate and say that it is true. And she left it at that. She didn't still go on or whatever. The son of the first wife came out and said, I know it's true, but I don't have a lot of information, but, he was married to my mother, blah, 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 blah. Instead of just saying, I'm just here to authenticate it, I know that she's telling the truth, this is here just to back up her story, that's it, and leave it at that. But a lot of people were there to jump on the trend for the clout because, TikTok's paying and all of that. Do I agree with it? No, because I think there are good elements and bad elements to this. The good element is that you need to warn other people. Other women need to, because after that came out, a lot of other women came out and said, yes, I had an encounter with him. Yes, I also had experience with him, the same guy. So let the people know, especially in that vicinity. The other challenge is you placing her life in danger now because you outing the owner. And guy comes across as very creepy. But
he seems very delusional, this guy.
He's very delusional.
So what did you want to say on the marriage point?
So here's the thing, just to backtrack on the marriage issue, and not to find yourself. I mean, we have spoken about red flags and all of that, but I think it's important that when you get into a relationship, my guys, get to know the person, get to know their family, and I mean actually spend time with their family, because I know that this notion of I'm not getting married to your family, I'm just getting married to you is a fallacy. I'm telling you, it is a myth. You marry the entire family, because guess what? You're going to have to spend time with them at the cookouts, onze braai. You're going to have to spend time with them at funerals, at Christmases, lunches, or whatever. You're going to have to spend time with these people. And when push comes to shove, guess who needs to be there when things go awry? Your family, people's families need to be there for one another. So you have to keep each other's family in close proximity. Get to know this person and how are their relationships with each other. Because guess what? That's going to happen to you. That's going to reflect in your marriage. That's the person who you're going to have to deal with. How do they treat their brothers? How do they treat their sisters? I mean, moving along, she found out this man is fabricating a relationship with his brother that he hasn't spoken to in years. He's having a candid conversation, so-and-so's on the phone, whatnot. Kanti, man's never had the conversation with his brother at all because he hasn't spoken to his brother in years. Why? Why? What is the reason?
So here's my thing, right? I had a question now, or not a question, a thought process, but I now can't remember.
It wasn't me.
What I wanted to say there. Yeah, completely gone.
Right.
Out the window.
So here's the thing: get to know the person, because then if the person is a pathological liar, you'll pick it up
Oh
there.
yes, here's it. How much of this would have been avoided if she did this the traditional old school way? And she mentions it a couple of times, especially in the beginning, where she says, I wasn't raised like this. I wasn't supposed to just move in with a random guy. I wasn't supposed to just start sleeping with him. My mother didn't raise me this way. Da 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 da. How much of that could have been avoided? And she doesn't speak at all about her father, which tells me there's no father in her life. A young lady who has a father active in her life, Pops would have been there on the double. My 2 daughters, I'm there tomorrow. Your father, he's on a flight tomorrow, he's here. That shows me, number one, this thing of a fatherless generation, it's leaving the young ladies vulnerable. It's leaving them vulnerable, unprotected, uncovered, right? Unless you find someone else to cover that position for you, like a good uncle or your grandfather. I know in some of my family's cases, my grandfather would cover that space. Like when you could see the father figure was a bit lacking here, my grandfather would have covered that space. To have that, to say, my opa was there for me, my opa raised me, whatever. But again, from day one, this is how God intended for it to be. So you can come here, mainstream culture can come as much as they want to and vilify men and call men misogynistic, and men are trash and woman power, and let's remove men from society. The devil understands why he's doing these things, because he knows if Risa Tisa had a father in her life, I'll put money on it. The chances of this happening would have been drastically diminished. Drastically diminished. The chance, it can still happen, but it would have been drastically diminished. The chances of us out taking advantage, knowing that the father is coming, because man to man, he would have known, yeah, bruh. Especially a coward like him. He would have known, I'm in for the run of my life. Let me not do this. But he knows there's no father figure. He takes advantage. I've seen this. I've seen it with people in my personal life. They're dating a girl when they realize there's no father. It's free for all, bruh. It's free for all because there's no real resistance. Because another man that's walking into your house, he can control your mother and you in your mother's house. If there's no father, and especially
if the mother's not strong.
If the mother's not strong, but there's not very many mothers that have that hardcore, like, yeah, this is by me. Yeah, there are obviously mothers that do. So that's point number one. The fatherless generation is a problem. Point number two: you can fight tradition, you can fight conservative values.
I wouldn't say tradition. I would say values.
Yeah, they're calling it tradition. That's old school traditional.
No.
Yeah, bruh.
It's
you can
principles.
fight those old school principles, what you inverted commas call old school. The reality of the matter is, the chances that this would have happened if she had both her parents in her life, if she did it the way it should have been done, if she didn't just invite the out to her house, because she says it was lockdown, the guys almost started coming to her house.
She didn't even know him.
Bruh, you don't even know if he's a serial killer. Now you try to get rid of now you can't get him out of the. And how many of those stories? I watched once on a crime where there was a girl that was trying to, and I couldn't understand because we would never do that in South Africa. But they were renting. She needed a roommate to rent out because of the finances and whatever. So she cut the apartment in half, and she got a random roommate.
Yeah, that happens.
And then it turned out the homie was a serial killer and whatever, and then she couldn't get him out of the house afterwards. And she found out, so she saw something, and she realized, hey, this is the old that's staying in my house, and so she couldn't get him out. But the point I'm making is, if you had to do the thing, the in inverted commas traditional way, you would have never been in this situation in the first place.
I watched an episode of something the other day, and something happened in the episode, but the crux of the matter is she was engaged to a fiance and all of that, and she was in her 30s and still living with her parents. And I know that in America that is still like frowned upon, and even here that is still frowned upon to a certain extent. But the friend asked her, why don't you just move out and build your life? And then she said, because, or why don't you just move in with him, because you guys are engaged and all of that, and you are grown. And then she said, I come from an Italian background, and it is tradition for us to get married out of our parents' home. That was my father's thing. You are not moving out of my house until you are married. You got me in my parents' house. The first time I left that house was the week that I had to go to Cape Town to get married to you. And what that does is, as old school as that seems, it is a hedge of protection, because I could have been exposed to a lot more. And a lot of the things my father did was, finding was extremely overprotective. But what that did was it laid a foundation, because now there's certain things in our marriage you don't have to struggle with. You don't have to tell me I'm not allowed to come home at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's inappropriate. We've never had that conversation ever. And the reason we've never had that conversation, because it's obvious. My father didn't allow me to come home at certain times in the house, because 'n vrou mens gaan nie so laat uit nie. En klaar. That's how I was. There were certain boundaries that were set for me that you didn't have to now. We didn't have to have these open conversations. Those are things that we instill in our daughters today, because that's the type of upbringing that we had. Like, no, it's inappropriate to go out partying till what time? In fact, it's just inappropriate to go out partying, and klar. That's just the lifestyle that we chose and we lived and we were raised by. So, that creates a hedge of protection. As much as we want to say certain things are old school, it really, those boundaries are there to protect us and keep us from things that we don't need to deal with. You can go out and do whatever you want, but the consequences are real. And I started out, when we started out the show, I did say that it's okay, you are allowed to do something, and there are excuses. Yeah, but this happened, and that's great. But that doesn't mean you don't deal with the consequences of your own actions, regardless of what might have triggered it, regardless of what excuse you may come up with. You need to bear the consequences of your actions. You're not allowed to do those things at the expense of somebody else.
100%. I agree with it. I agree with everything you just said. So again, you can target these old school values. You can say it's old school. You can say, yeah, you this and you that. It's fine. But at the end of the day, the reality of the matter is, bruh, you need some of these old school values. You need some of these, what you call old school values. You
I think
actually
it's more principle in because what you find is that these principles are so important, and given that there are social issues out there and all of that, there's another thing that I wanted to touch on when it comes to and I just watched that last one. I think it was part 50, where she posted the aftermath of everything, and that she feels like he didn't love her and all of that. It's important to understand why you want to get into a relationship like marriage. The full extent of marriage. I was listening to Candace Owens' a piece of her podcast yesterday, where she was speaking about the child that trauma dumped about her father, and her father made like a reaction video to that and was back and forth, and he was saying his side of the story and all of that. And the element is, the father said that he didn't want to take his daughter to pay for his daughter for a therapist, because he feels like women are being indoctrinated that men are bad, men are trash, men can't do this, you can do all bad by yourself. And what that does, it displaces the use of a man. It displaces what it's character assassination for the man. That's what's happening right now. And that's why a lot of men don't want to get into marriages, or women don't want to get into marriages, because the character of a man has been so twisted. Right. So when you get in, where I'm going with this is to say that when you want to get into this, understand why you want to be married. Know what is the purpose of why you're getting married. Are you getting married to get out of your house, your childhood home, because it wasn't so great? Are you getting married because this man can financially provide? Are you getting married because you like the way he looks? Why are you getting married? Because all those reasons start to fall apart as you go along, because marriage amplifies the bad things. It does. So now you come to a point where you're like, yo, I was duped into this. I was promised this. I was promised that. But is the core values of why you wanted to get into this relationship, is it a good reason? Is it a good reason why you want to be in this marriage? Because if she had sat and waited and said, okay, fine, because it was clear, she made it clear to say that, you know what, he was providing, he was paying the bills. It was so refreshing of a man taking care of me. Did she just want a man to take care of her? What was it? Did she really love this man? Because it's easy to say he didn't love me, but did she really love the man? Or was she in love with the idea of what he could provide? Or what he could potentially do? Which could feed into that lie. That's why he lied. Because he knew that this is what women want, generally. So know why you get into a marriage, because your reason and your why starts falling apart, nitpicking, starts falling apart bit by bit if it's not a solid reason why you want to be married to this person.
100%. So what's the crux of the matter? I still believe that a lot was unnecessary to happen if we just did this thing the biblical way. And she keeps mentioning that the mother is saved and the mother prayed for her and if we did this thing the way that God intended for it in the beginning, she would have never moved in with a guy, because that goes already against your Christian beliefs. She would have never slept with a guy. That already goes against your Christian beliefs. She would have never just trusted a random guy if her original home was still intact, because she would have known better than to just trust a random guy. But then again, anyone can be duped, anyone can be lied to, anyone can be taken for a ride. I'm not saying that it's completely impossible for it to happen, but I am saying that it would have been a lot less likely for it to happen if you did this thing the proper godly way. And to me, that's my story. Like, do this thing the right way, do it the way God intended for it to be done, and you'll just save yourself just so much stress and issues.
Yeah. That's it from me also. I think I've said my states and I've shared my thoughts. Know why you're doing what you're doing, and get to know each other first. There's no rush to get married. And it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix to a solution. And it's not something that you do to fix something that you did wrong. Get to know the person, because if you're going to be stuck with this, remember, you're going to have this person in your house. You might just have a serial killer in your house. You might just have a drug dealer or something in your house that you don't know. Get to know the people first before you get into bed with them.
Perfect.
That's from me.
100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us. Thank you so much for everyone watching. Thank you for everyone that dropped comments in the comment sections and liked and all that kind of stuff. Please do subscribe to our channel. We obviously put out content once a week, so please do check it out. I love you guys. See you on the next one.
Bye.
Goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new show.
Xavier used to be my boyfriend, then my fiance, and then my husband, so he's my ex-boyfriend.
We decided that we needed to spice this up.